Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hope you're fine. Happy Eid for the Muslims who are here. My name is Mr. Mukwaya, Joseph, and we are going to have our history lesson for today. But before we go any further, I want us to get to know how is history categorized. Remember, when we look at history, we have papers at all level. For instance, we have history of East Africa, and then history of South Africa. Patience.
Yes.
Which papers do you prefer?
What?
Which paper? Patience, which paper do you prefer? East Africa, South Africa?
East Africa.
East Africa. What about Shania?
East Africa.
Shania, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, want to look at the zonal areas of history of East Africa. Okay. We want to see how do they set history of East Africa. It has zones. It has zones. And I want you to note down these zones. Do you have where to note?
Yes.
Okay. So you note history of East Africa, zonal areas. History of East Africa, zonal areas. Are you done with that?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Zone A, we have zone A, Arabs. Zone A, we have Arabs. And under that zone, you can put some bullets. We have the coastal town, bullet 1, coastal towns, bullet 1. Bullet 2, Indian Ocean trade. Bullet 3, Swahili culture. I've said zone A, we have Arabs, and under that zone, we have the coastal towns. We have Indian Ocean trade, and then Swahili culture. Have you noted that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let us go to zone B, the Portuguese. That is zone B. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Then zone C, we have migrations in East Africa. Zone C, migrations in East Africa. Migrations in East Africa. Zone D, Intercastrian region and pre-colonial societies.
Pardon?
Intercastrian regions, and pre-colonial societies. Intercastrian regions and pre-colonial societies. Are you done with that zone?
Yes.
All of you?
Yes.
Patience. Okay. Then we have zone E. The long zone E is the trade systems. Zone E, the trade systems. The trade systems. Zone E. The trade systems. Under that zone, put some bullets. Put bullets. Bullet 1, long distance trade. Bullet 1, long distance trade. Then bullet 2, slave trade. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you understand when I say bullets?
Yes.
Okay. Let us go to zone F. F. It is called Europe and East Africa. Europe and East Africa. Europe and East Africa. Under that zone, still you put bullets. We have missionaries. Bullet 1, missionaries. Bullet 2, religious wars. Religious wars. Religious wars. And then bullet 3, chartered companies. Bullet 3, chartered companies. Chartered companies. Let us go to bullet G. No, not bullet G, zone G. All together?
Yes.
Okay. Scramble and partitions. That is zone G. Zone H. Zone H. Establishment of colonial rule. Establishment of colonial rule. Establishment of colonial rule. Under that zone, you put bullets. Indian Ocean trade. No, indirect rule, not Indian Ocean trade. Indirect rule. And then bullet 2, direct rule. I've said that zone is called establishment of colonial rule. Establishment of colonial rule. So under that zone, we have bullets. Bullet 1, indirect rule. Bullet 2, direct rule. Are we done?
Yes.
Okay. Shania, please unmute your microphone. I need to hear you. Tania, unmute your microphone. Okay, thank you. Bullet I, rebellions. Bullet I, rebellions. Bullet I, rebellions. Bullet I, rebellions. Bullet J, political and constitutional development. Political and constitutional development. Political and constitutional development. And under that bullet, under that zone, put bullets, Buganda agreement. Are you following?
Yes.
Okay. Buganda agreement. Bullet 2, Devonshire white paper. Devonshire white paper. Devonshire white paper. Then bullet 3, Kabaka crisis. Are we through?
Yes.
Okay. Then the last zone, economic development. Economic development. The last zone, economic development. Under that zone, we have Uganda Railway and the cash crops. Under that zone, Uganda Railway and the cash crops. So those are the zones. How many are they? Can you count them for me? How many are they?
11.
Very good. There are 11 zones. So history of East Africa, it is set according to those zones, and it is taught according to those zones. So let me ask Patience, you're on which zone according to that outline that we have noted?
In school,
Yes. You're on which zone? Which zone? Which
none.
zone?
None
One?
of these.
None.
Right.
Are you sure? Why you offering history? Patience.
Yes, I'm checking.
Hmm? Patience.
Yes.
Yes. I need to know you are on which zone according to that outline.
I think if
Zone F, missionaries. Missionaries, the religious was chartered companies.
Yes.
Okay, then Shania, you're on which zone?
D.
Shania?
Zone D.
Zone D, interlacustrine regions and pre-colonial societies.
Yes.
Okay. So what we are going to do, we are going to first review the previous zones, and we shall start with the first one. And we shall look at the early East African coast from 1000 to 1500 AD. So here we are going to look at the early inhabitants of East Africa. All together?
Yes.
Yes. So who are the early inhabitants of East Africa? Patients. Who are the early inhabitants of East Africa? Yes.
The Arabs.
Patience, patience.
I don't know.
You have forgotten?
Yeah.
Shania, who are the early inhabitants of East Africa?
Before the migration of the land.
Yes.
Are you talking about before the one?
Now, the early inhabitants of East Africa. Yes, Shania, you're telling us something.
I was asking, are you meaning before the migration of the Bantu?
When we talk about the early inhabitants of East Africa, we are talking about the settlers before the coming of the Arabs, the Persians, Portuguese on the East African coast. All together now?
Yes.
Yes. So can we mention them? Patience. Let me go back to patience. Tell us. Can I give you one?
Yeah.
There were the so-called the sun. Have you ever heard of that word? The sun. In other words, they were being called the Bushmen. We also had the Khoikhoi. We had the Kushites and also the Bantu. So those were the early inhabitants of the East African coast. I've mentioned the San, the Khoikhoi, Kushites, and then the Bantu. Patience, are you there? Patience, unmute your microphone. Patience? Shania? Yes, Patience. Patience. We have said that the early inhabitants of the East African coast, we had the San, we had the Khoikhoi, we had the Kushites, and also the Bantu. So we normally find a question which is normally asked about the way of life of these early inhabitants, how they used to live. For instance, how did the San live? How are they living their way of life? The way of life of the Khoikhoi, the way of life of the Kushites, the way of life of the Bantu. Are we there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, for instance, let us look at the San. The San, in brackets, the Bushmen, and yellow. They had a yellow-brown skin. They spoke a language of croaks or click, and it was clicking. They lived in caves. The San lived in small communities of 20 to 100 people. We also see that they had a simple system of administration with no chiefs. They had no chiefs, the San. However, we see that the elders in the community were responsible for the day-to-day administration of the society. And we see that still the San, economically, work was divided according to sex, where men they carried out fishing and hunting, while women, they gathered fruits. We see that men, they used simple weapons like poisoned arrows for hunting small animals, and they dug pits to trap large animals. We also see that the women gathered roots, wild berries, seeds, nuts, caterpillars, locusts, termites. We see that the San also made stone tools. For instance, they had the hand axes, which were used to dig pits, traps, and these tools they were used to cut skin animals. We also see that they kept the dog for company and protection when hunting. We see that they were great artists and they left behind paintings in the caves they occupied. Are we there?
Yes.
Okay. So those were the San. And you find out that we normally fail questions for these first regions simply because we simply we ignore these questions because they are set from the first region, they are set from the senior one, the senior work. So we shouldn't ignore. Are we together? That's
Yes.
why I had to first give you the regions according to the way they are set and according to the way they are taught. Then after we make a brief review, we see whether we can we still remember what we covered with our teachers when we are still at school. And we are going to first make a review, then after we shall continue region by region till when we complete all these regions. So Patience, can you talk about the way of life of the Khoikhoi? Do you remember something about the way of life of the Khoikhoi? Patience? Patience, are you there?
Yes.
Now, since you over keep quiet, I request you show your videos. I need to see you. All of you, Patience and Shania.
No.
That's like you're
No.
seeing me.
No. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I'm waiting for you for
No.
footage. I'm waiting for footage. Yes, I can see Chania. Patience, we need to see you. Patience, we need to see you. Patience. As patience is coming, Shania, can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us the way of life of the Khoikhoi? Way of life of the Khoikhoi?
Koi lived in small communities of about 20 to 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
For hunting using tools like the women used to gather roots and fruits like berries for food.
Okay. That's it. Okay. We see that the Khoikhoi were also the earliest inhabitants of East Africa. They spoke a similar language to that of the San. They were light-skinned. They were slightly taller than the San. The Khoikhoi were taller than the San. They lived in larger communities of between 500 to 2,000 people. Remember, for the San, we said that they lived in small communities of 20 to 100 people, isn't it? Yes? So the Khoikhoi, they lived in communities of between 500 to 2,000 people. They had the chiefs to administer their society. We see that they were nomadic pastoralists who kept on moving from one place to another, looking for water and pasture. They also carried out hunting and fishing to supplement on their diet. Those were the Khoikhoi. So when we go to let us look at the way of life of the Kushites. Way of life of the Kushites. Of life of the Kushites. As we are winding up, we see that the Kushites, they had a decentralized system of administration and they were ruled by clan leaders. They were fairly tall, light-skinned people. They carried out agriculture, growing mainly bananas and millet. They hunted wild animals as a way of getting food. They traded in foodstuffs and tools like horse with their neighbors. They lived in small grass, thatched houses. Those were the Kushites. So, since time is not on our side, I want to leave this question, this revision question behind. Are we noting the revision question? Shania? Describe the way of life of the coast before the coming of the Arabs. Describe the way of life. Describe the way of life at the coast before the coming of the Arabs. Describe the way of life at the coast before the coming of the Arabs. Describe the way of life. Describe the way of life at the coast before the coming of the Arabs. Shania and patience, active, and I request we do that assignment. I need it by tomorrow, 5 p.m. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.